YouTube? I'm back. Gonna do another video today. Obviously, I'm on the island. I'm not going anywhere. Just riding around. So I figured, given that a couple of days ago, Can-Am BRP released the 2024 model year lineup. Obviously, with 250 followers, I wasn't invited. Maybe next year, but probably not. But that's okay. So before I wade into this issue or this announcement, I wanted to watch a lot of the stuff that's already out there, because like I said, I wasn't there, so I have to have something to talk to you guys about from some point of view. So I've been doing, I guess you call it due diligence, and watching the press conferences, the moto vloggers that were in attendance. So I found it quite interesting, actually. A lot of, actually not a lot of, that's the wrong word, a couple of interesting things. And I guess I'll address that now. So obviously we got the three vehicles. You have the Ryker, the Spyder, which is what I'm on, and the RT, which I have yet to ride on. And you may or may not know that the F3s and the RTs internally, engine-wise, stuff like that, pretty much the same bike, same trike. Externally, obviously the RT is their premium luxury line, and you're paying for all the bells and whistles. If you want the ultimate trike touring package, RT is the way to go. You're looking for something a little bit more sporty, you could go with the F3 like I got in its variants. You can just go with the straight up F3, which is their sportiest model of the F3, and then you go full bagger, full package, and all the bells and whistles at the top of the line. I'm on a T, so that's kind of in the middle. It's got bags on the side, but it doesn't have the tour case behind me. So those things really haven't changed. All three offerings are pretty much mechanically the same as last year's, as the year before that. Well, I guess we'll start off with the Ryker. Really, not much. And even the 2023, I think it was 23 that had the introduction of cruise control, the introduction of the sport model, which is just taking your standard 900 and slapping a couple of parts on from the Rally, which is basically what I did. I bought a 900, put on the max mount, some other junk. I got the hand guards, the wind guards, stuff like that. You know, so it's basically a Rally without the wheels and the fender and the Rally mode, which is just electronic nonsense. And I don't live on gravel, so, or even around gravel, so drifting this thing on asphalt wasn't gonna really happen. So no loss with that. You know, they changed the pegs and a couple other things, and that was last year. This year, they got nothing. If you're buying a Ryker this year, you know, the panels on the front, well, that's standard, because they change those every year. There's some, you know, couple of colors that they have all the time. Then they have upgraded ones, and then they have these limited edition ones, you know. But at the end of the day, they're all just this piece of crappy plastic with something printed on it, and they're not cheap either. So is it worth it? I don't think so. You could easily just get the the stock ones and wrap them if you wanted to, if you wanted something really nice. You know, because the box, I think I saw one, they were like $300. $300 for 2 pieces of plastic is ridiculous. And it's not like it's some sort of licensed artist's work, you know, that you got to pay royalties to. So if you were looking for something new with the Ryker, that was pretty much a wash. Okay, they got new wheels. Instead of white, they're like silver, something like that. Okay, whoop-de-doo. But the shape is the same. No big deal. Now, moving on to the RT or the F3, and I'm going to say these both together. Here's the game changer. It's the dash. Or display, whatever the hell you want to call it. Now, this is a 2021. It's got the TFT digital display, whatever the hell you want to call it, and it's 7 something inches. You know, it's big enough. It gives you the information you need to ride your trike. All good. Now, where it failed was that BRP Go crap. That's just horrible, because the apps that you can use with it suck. Trying to navigate the apps suck. Paying to upgrade those apps sucks. It's just suck all the way around. Okay? Now, that was both for the RT and the Spyder. And if you got the base model F3, it came with the Ryker dash. Well, I'm sorry, bro, but if you're paying F3 money, you should at least have the same dash. Which brings me to my point. What did they do? They have upgraded from this display to a 10.5 inch display, or a 10 inch display. And the major thing, the major thing, Apple CarPlay. Right off the bat, if you're an Android user, you are shit out of luck. All right? They don't have whatever Google's version of Apple Play is. They don't have that, so you're not getting it. But I have an iPhone, so it doesn't apply to me. So why is this a game changer? It's not so much the Apple Play, but Apple Play is awesome because you have your iPhone and the apps that you paid for that work, that you love, that you've been using all over the place, that you could use in your house, you know, setting your favorites and all that junk up. Now you have access to that on your trike. It's a beautiful thing. The functionality of that dashboard was awesome. So with gloves on, from what I saw, I don't think you need special touch sensitive gloves. You could sit there and you could swipe and redraw your display. You could put your maps. It looked like about, I'm going to say 2/3 of the screen could just be your navigation map, which could be Google Maps, could be Apple Maps, or whatever, or Waze, or whatever the hell you want to use. So now, instead of half the display, which is what this does, and you can, like I said, you can't use Google Maps, so you have to use that crappy app, and you have half a display of a crap app. With the new dash, you get, it looked like 2/3 of the app that you really want, that's actually useful. Then there was another thing, like if you hold down the center, you can change what's displayed in the center of the screen. Like if you want your speedometer, I guess, or miles per hour, same thing, or your mileage, or miles to empty, junk like that, you could basically pin that to the center of the screen. Awesome. And if you guys have these, let's just say, relatively modern cars like 2019s and stuff, you know, you can change the lighting inside your vehicle and from your dashboard or from your display. Well, I think you could do, not to let the lighting and stuff, but you do have access to modify your display for your preferences. Answering phone calls, or that's, you know, that's another thing. Answering text messages with a paired up helmet. So if you get a text message on the road, if you have Apple Play, like I do in my car, it'll read you the text message, and then you can just read off your response. So you don't have to look, you don't have to type. Go totally hands-free. To some of you out there, that might be a big deal. Maybe I'm not that popular. It's not that big a deal to me. And the other thing was that a lot of the things that are now standard with the Apple Play, I have been forced to do workarounds. As you can tell right here, their navigation sucks. I have a Garmin Zumo XT. You know, I have an installation video. Maybe I'll put in the description. It might be a card up, I guess to the left. I don't know. But I'll put a link to that somewhere. Okay, so that's the Google Maps workaround. As you can tell, I also have my phone right here. So if it's a short trip, I could just use my phone. I also installed a wire coming from the front to here, so I could use my Google Maps on my phone without draining the battery. Like I said, there's always a workaround. So, it's good. Do I want it? Yes. Oh God, do I want it. And is it going to be retro active? Absolutely not. Because, like, it basically goes from here to here. It's a big, it basically looks like you got a, yeah, we'll just make you turn. It's basically like you have a iPad right in the middle of your screen, which is pretty cool. Just gotta see if this is still running. Yep, still running. Yeah, I'm doing the dual setup today. Haven't done that in quite some time. Usually I use the 360, but not today. Today I'm gonna dual GoPro. Hopefully they don't fail me, as they sometimes do. So hopefully when I get home this isn't complete crap and I don't have to do it again. What was the other big thing? Which, not for nothing, I'm gonna tell you, I think that a lot of the vloggers and YouTube guys doing that Ryker and F3 stuff, Spyder stuff, blew it way out of proportion, was the LED headlights. Is LED headlights a long time coming? Absolutely. Should have been done years ago. Absolutely. There was never a reason not to have LED headlights. That being said, it's not like you can't put LEDs in any headlight on the market. This has LED headlights. $100, $120. I think I got the ones from either Le Monster or Sling Mods. I don't remember at this point. Whoop-de-doo. It took like 20 minutes to install. It's not that difficult. You know? But if you want to do it correctly, you really have to take the headlights out. Unless you got really tiny fingers. But that's a side note. Once again, a very simple workaround. You know, that I think pretty much anybody that sees me reasonably handy, or you just pay someone to do it. It was a simple fix. Came with halogen light bulbs. You yank them out, you put the LEDs of your choice in. Where'd you come from? So like I said, not that big a deal. So I did that. Now, one guy I was watching, Black Phoenix Entertainment. You should check out his channel. I'll probably put a link up here as a card. He had some interesting takes, especially in the comments section. Okay, which side of the road do you want to be on, asshole? Is anybody in this car? Oh, thank you. Hazard lights would have worked. Oh God, some people are so stupid. Alright, sorry about that. I lost my train of thought. Oh, Black Phoenix Entertainment. There was a couple of things. And he brings up a very valid point. These vehicles, well, not the F3 per se, but definitely the Ryker, these vehicles are not without their mechanical problems. And these weren't addressed. At least no one I saw was talking about it. You know, if you bought a Ryker, there's a couple of recalls on it so far. So you have, if you have like a 22, it's the stem bolt. If you have something earlier than that, it was the wheel nuts. If you're in between that, probably from the get, it's the VSS, and the VSS is the big problem. And now the most recent one is the fuel pump line, and then the fuel pump. What the hell was the other one? Oh, the wiring in the fenders. So if your wires get worn out inside the fenders, for some reason that fuse also goes to the computer. And it's not like you lose your headlights or your turn signals. You lose your computer and the engine just dies. So you could be in the middle of the highway and your engine will just done. That's not good. So the question is, in the 2024 model year, were any of those issues addressed? The wheel nuts, I think that was addressed a long time ago. The fuel pump, I don't know. The wiring in the fenders, again, I don't know. There's some issues. Like, my point of view is, if I'm launching a new model of vehicle, I'm not going to call out publicly, hey, last year's models were shitty. You know, it's just bad advertising. You know, maybe do something more on the down low, put out a press brief, I don't know. Put something out there to address it. Or if someone actually asks you the question. And that was the one thing I've noticed, that a lot of the guys didn't ask those questions. Oh boy, what else was there? Oh, there was another thing that was actually interesting, but like, once again, I don't see the big deal. Is shifting this into reverse. So as you can tell, there's a button right here. You hit that, you hit downshift to put this in reverse. Thumb, index finger, it's not that difficult. So what's the new thing? The new thing is, when you're at stop and you have your foot on the brake, you roll the throttle forward and downshift. And then you're in reverse. And then when you upshift, it takes it out of reverse. Okay. Not a game changer. I didn't have a problem putting this thing into reverse. But, you know, if that makes life easier for people, so be it. You know, if you have a Ryker, you're used to putting the throttle forward to do certain things that I don't like to advertise. You know, it's a funny thing, is like when people buy the Rykers, it's the first thing they forget is how to start it. So that was it. LED headlights and the new 10-inch display. Okay, that was it. Once again, as like the other guy said, that did you address the problems that needed to be addressed in the last year's model? You know, and they you know, I don't want to talk shit about the earlier models of the Ryker. You know, my father always told me, he says, you never buy the first model year of anything because they haven't got the bugs worked out. So if you had like a I think it's a 2019 was the first model year. So even 4 years later, it's still an issue. And if you've followed my channel, I'll tell you that with all the stuff that they did to my Ryker, it all turned out to be just a steering position sensor, which was relatively it was covered under warranty, number one. But if it wasn't, it's a relatively cheap part, and not terribly difficult to replace. The biggest problem with replacing it is you also have to zero it out in the software, which none of us have, so it does have to go to the shop for that, even if you could install it yourself. And then there's the usual ever-present clamoring for a turbo. Because don't quote me on this, but BRP, their snowmobiles, I think they have a 900, which is probably the same engine as the Ryker, or at least I'm assuming it is. It has a turbo. Now, if you don't own a Ryker, if you've never ridden a Ryker, especially a 900, can't speak to the 600 because I've never been on it. That thing, it's deceiving, but when you give it a lot of throttle, you can spin out the back tire. You don't have to hold the brake down. You can spin out the tire while rolling at certain speeds. And my personal feeling is that if they put a turbo on there, and that's just a stock 900, you take that stock 900, now you put a turbo on it, now you're up to like what, 130 horsepower from like, I think it's 90 or as the 900. You twist that throttle, you're going to spin the tire out, and which is a lot of fun at a standstill. But if you're coming out of a turn and you give it too much beans, you might kick that back loose, and now you're fishtailed. So, me personally, I look at it as a liability issue. I don't think they want to give you too much horsepower because someone's going to do something stupid and like blame the manufacturer. At least that's how I think. I mean, you could buy a Hayabusa with 200 horsepower and, you know, the fastest production bike. If you crash it into a tree, that's user error. You know, even if you're crashing into a tree at 175 miles an hour. It's like, well, why did you give me that much horsepower if you didn't want me to use it? So you do have that rationale or logic. I just think that with too much horsepower, because the thing with the Ryker specifically, its top speed is really limited to its horsepower. So you give it more horsepower, you will give it more speed, and then I think that probably will have negative repercussions with the nanny system that everyone hates. They want to switch to turn it off, but once again, liability. So that's my take on that. So if you were holding out to get one of these vehicles, I think now's a good time. I think now is a good time. That dashboard, I'm not going to say it's a game changer. I don't really like to use that word too much. But will it make life a lot more convenient for some people? Yes. Can it make your riding more enjoyable? Once again, I think yes. Especially when you get to customize it so you're looking at what you want. You know, it would be cool if like you put your own pictures as a background for your dashboard. That would be pretty awesome. But I don't think that's offered. But as it stands, I think it's the right direction. It's a little late. You know, why didn't they have it before? Well, I don't think people understand that Apple CarPlay is not free. You can't just slap it on your vehicle. You got to pay. Maybe Apple, I'm not exactly sure who you have to pay because I don't know who owns the rights, but I'm pretty sure it's Apple. They want a cut of that. And it's like, well, okay, you want a license, and then the manufacturer has to go, you know, do we have to pay per vehicle? So every time I sell a vehicle with CarPlay, they get a cut, or do I have a contract that says for X millions of dollars I get the rights? And then obviously when you're paying the app manufacturer, that's cutting into your profits. Like I said, I don't run BRP, so I don't know. But that's my latent business sense. That's probably why you don't have it for the Google, or whatever you want to call them. The Androids, Androids. Because they haven't worked out the contract yet. Because at the end of the day, it's just software. I don't think it requires anything special. Now, like I said, you really don't want your head buried in a dashboard. So while bells and whistles are nice, when you're actually on the road, does it really make that much of a difference? I don't think so, except for the actual maps. To me, that's the big thing. You're going somewhere and you don't want to look at your phone. You can just glance down at your thing. Once again, with my setup, there's still a workaround because it's still got Bluetooth, thank God, from the factory. It has Bluetooth. So when my phone is linked up to that, if I have an app running on my phone, it could talk to me in my helmet. So I could still get my directions. I could still look at the phone. And the music stuff, once again, not a big deal. And if anyone was running into problems connecting their phone to their bike, here's how I do it. The first thing you do, put the key in, turn the bike on. It doesn't have to be running. Okay? Because it takes about, let's say, a little less than a minute for the phone to connect to the bike. So while you're waiting for that to end, you put your helmet on, you put your gloves on, do what you got to do. So once the phone is connected to the bike, then you should turn on your helmet, if so equipped. Because I don't know about Androids, but with the iPhone, whatever you pair up last, that's its seniority. So when you pair up the helmet, the sound will come through your helmet, but you will still retain the controls of whatever joystick here to switch your tracks and junk. So in case you were wondering, I actually had a guy in my club, he was having that problem because he was doing it the other way around. And if you do it the other way around, you have to go into here, open up the music app or whatever you're streaming to your helmet. You click on the little bottom thing and it'll see everything that's connected to your phone, and you just have to tap on your helmet. There you go. In case you were wondering, with the Bluetooth, that's how you have to connect yourself to this bike or trike, whatever the hell. Okay, so turn the bike on, get your Bluetooth warmed up on this. It'll connect to the phone. Pick your app that you want to use, whether it's your navigation, your podcasts, or your music. Get that set up, get that playing, then turn on your helmet, and it'll go from broadcasting to here to broadcasting up here. Easy cheesy lemon squeezy. And then there was another thing, but I haven't seen a lot on it. Now, when I bought this, I think that BRP was kind of, I don't want to say partnered up, but Nolan Helmets was, I think, the brand that they were associated with. Is that a good word? I guess so. You know, because you could get a Nolan helmet that says Can-Am on it. And what I did notice this year was, on the website especially, I didn't see it on any of these bloggers talking about, Avarex helmets with the links system. And if you bought one of those helmets, which might be a BRP brand, I'm not really sure, it should seamlessly connect and work with your new display and junk. Okay, cool. Don't need another helmet. And not for nothing, I love my Nolan helmet. You know, I have N44, and I think it's the N17. They're touring models. They have huge visors, unparalleled visibility out of these things. And when I switch to helmets, I have several helmets, but when I switch to this one, it literally, like, I don't want to say claustrophobic, but you definitely can tell that your field of vision has narrowed. So that's another thing that I don't have too much information on. And quite frankly, I don't think it's too relevant to me. And of course, they were hawking their clothing line, which might be nice for style, might be nice for branding. You know, if you want to sport Can-Am junk, you know, on your riding jackets and stuff. But I don't know if you've ever been to the BRP websites. They are very, very short on specifics. It's like, oh, it's CE. It's like, okay, is it Kevlar lined? I didn't see that. Well, I try not to buy a jacket that won't shred if, God forbid, you hit pavement. So I need more information before I buy any of their products. You know, and they also have that generic, crappy armor. It's more like a rubber pad than anything. But to each his own. Like I said, if you want to go for branding, go for branding. I think that's pretty much it. The other thing was that it looked like the go back to the headlights. I know I'm jumping around a lot, but I'm doing this all off script. It looked okay. So like the headlights now are square. They're like 2 blocks like this, and so there's the headlights. There's 4 lights. It looks like. And then the weirdest thing is it looks like it has wings coming out of it as well. Because I'm looking at it from the side. So you see how the mirrors over here are sticking out from the body? Below and forward of that, you have another wing coming out. So it looks like 2 sets of mirrors almost. And I think those might be turn signals or additional lights. I'm not really sure. But that's what it looked like to me. Personally, while I do like LED lights, I'm not going to lie to you. I think the new ones are kind of ugly and square. I don't know. I would have just done a factory LED bulb. That's all I would have done. Changing the whole thing was a bit much, and it's not a styling cue that I particularly like. You might. It's to each his own. I don't hate it, but I do like this year's better. And like I said, I've driven this at night. I have the LEDs on this have just been just fine for me. And because it's a T, it doesn't have the auxiliary lights on the side, but those are aftermarket ones. They work nice, if I remember to put them on, which I usually don't. So that's that. So my verdict is, I support everything they did. I don't think there were any I don't think there were any miscues or anything like that. A lot of missing information on whether or not the older problems were solved. And that's where we stand. And then of course there were other things going on with the Sea-Doos and their UTVs and other things like that, but it's not my wheelhouse, and the people that I was watching weren't talking about it, so I'm not going to. Although I do like a Sea-Doo. Wouldn't mind having one of those now that it's almost September and that season's almost over. And I'll be quite frankly with you, to me, this is the beginning of riding season. End of August, this is when I want to be out. Either that or the spring. The problem with the spring is the weather, getting crappy with the rain. But yeah, I'm not the type of guy that likes driving around at 100-degree weather. Absolutely not. So you give me a nice 65-degree day or colder, I can put my leather on. Good times. you know, if you got this far, thanks for watching. If you want to hit the like and subscribe, I'd appreciate that too. And if you got more questions, something I didn't cover, or you just want to shoot the shit with me, put something down in the comments and I'll try to get back to you. Alright, maybe I'll throw this in here, some bonus content, I don't know. So I got a trip coming up. Gonna be heading towards Maryland. I'm not gonna say where because I honestly don't know. I don't remember. Probably some shore town somewhere. So that's gonna be the next what should we call it, big trip video. So I will be recording that. And it should be a fun ride. Hell of a lot shorter than the one down to South Carolina, where we got rain through the entire state of North Carolina. Hopefully it doesn't rain that the day I'm leaving. But we'd be doing the same thing, pretty much driving from here in Staten Island down to the ferry in New Jersey, take the ferry over and down to Delaware into Maryland. Hopefully that'll be interesting. U-turns. And maybe between now and then I'll have some more content. I don't think it'll be anything thrilling. I have nothing planned, but yeah, if I have the opportunity to record, I will, and I'll share it with you guys. Alright, enough of that nonsense. I'll see you guys later. Bye.